In the last video, we talked about joining things. So say I wanted to join all of these objects here, I could just shift select all of them or use some selection method to get them all. And then I could, in my menu here, press join, and this would join all of these objects. But when I did that, I lose the ability to edit these objects individually. So now if we press tab to go into edit mode, all of this mesh is editable because it's all for one object. Additionally, say I just wanted to add a modifier to this sphere object here, but now if I press W to add subsurface modifier and smoothing, it's going to be added to everything. And so there's a bunch of different reasons why we may want separate objects to move around, be animated and scaled, rotated, etc. as a whole, but still have the ability to edit the individual objects later. And so when we want to do that, we use parenting. Parenting is the act of choosing all the objects you want to be the children of a particular object, and then finally selecting the object you want to be the parent object and pressing this parent button. So say rather than joining these, I wanted to parent these, all I would do is click the objects I wanted to be the children. So I'll go ahead and make this torus shape, this sphere, and this cone all the children of this cube. So I could just shift select these children. And then finally, the last thing we select is the object we want to be the parent. So we'll shift select this cube, and we see that that's highlighted there. And once again, in Blender, the last selected object is going to be our active object, what Blender refers to as an active object. Then we just press this parent button. So now, whenever we click on the parent object, we can scale, rotate, move, we could animate this, etc. And all of these things will behave as though they're joined to this object. However, we'll still have individual control over other aspects. So for instance, if we click this plus sign, we can see that under this cube are now these objects. This means that these are parented. So if we click on each one of these children, notice too this little X that pops up now by the parent button. And so if we wanted to remove the parent relationship from a child object, we would just press X. So if I were to, with this sphere selected, press X, that gets rid of this sphere's child relationship to this cube. So now if I click on this cube and press G to grab, these other guys are going to move along with it, but not that. I could click this and then shift select the cube and parent that again. And so now if I click back on the sphere, we see that the relationship is there because the X is there. We can actually, make these relationships go as deep as we want. So say I wanted to have some smaller things or anything really parented to this sphere, I could double right click over here, add a cylinder. Maybe I wanted a bunch of little cylinders to be parented to this sphere. I could press D to duplicate this a few times, then shift select all of these, and then shift select the sphere. And even though the sphere is already the child of this cube, I can press parent again. And now if I click the parent object, press G to grab, then these smaller objects are now parented to this sphere. In this kind of situation, we might sort of think of this sphere as a parent and these little cylinders as grandchildren, and this is the grandparent. So if I were to press G to grab this, everything still moves along with this and follows that relationship. And then if I click on the sphere, then these guys will all follow with him. Meanwhile, each one of these I have individual control. I could, if we click the plus sign on the sphere here, we can see these cylinders. We could rename these individual objects. I could call this little cylinder boy, I suppose. I could rename these other ones. I could add modifiers to it, rotate it, move it around, etc., and still maintain that individual control.